Welcome back to Speak Pink, y'all. Hey. It's your girl, Reverend Juju. Speak Pink is in the house. Hey. Do. Hey. Do. Hey. Listen, this is your girl, Reverend Ju, and I am super excited to be on with you all right now at our Speak Pink podcast. Thank you for being tuned in. For those of you that have listened to our podcast before, you're probably wondering, where has she been? It's been almost 2 months. Listen, life happens, and I can say that with this just life happening and processing my own life's journey with my children and the transition, and then COVID virus came and took all of us for a loop-de-loop. I really had to just kind of get my mind wrapped around what I wanted to share with you all. Every time I do a series, I want it to be authentic. I want it to be real. I want it to be from the heart. But also I want it to be timely. And the things that I had prepared for the last 2 months were really not what was needed for the season. And I had to go into prayer. I had to go into meditation. I had to go into myself and just really kind of go through, what do I want to share in this season? Because I don't want it to be fluffy. I don't want it to be fake. I don't want it to not be timely and relevant. And, like any good podcaster, I plan out my calendar. And the topics that I wanted to address in April and March and April were just not timely, just not relevant to what was happening to me and to my family, but also what began to happen for the rest of the country and the world. And so I had to take a step back and put those items on hold so that I can prepare a series that I believe will be timely and relevant and really helpful to all of you that tune in to our Speak Pink podcast. So again, thank you for being tuned in. Today's series, we're kicking off a series called Hit the Wall. And you all have heard the term before, where someone says that, they were going along on a certain pace, a certain journey, and then all of a sudden they hit a wall. And that term basically means that you get to a place and things, just kind of get stuck. Even though you're moving physically and you're getting up every day, but you hit a wall mentally, emotionally. Writers hit a wall sometimes when they're trying to write. Singers hit a wall when they're trying to write music. Preachers, which is who I am, preachers hit a wall sometimes when it comes to writing sermons and preparing messages that are supposed to lift and edify the body of Christ, right? And so different people, especially creative people, can hit a wall and where it just feels like your creativity isn't flowing. But parents, taking care of children can hit a wall. And it's like you just get to a place where you're like, man, I'm getting up every day. I'm moving every day, but something inside of me, something going on with me feels like I've hit a wall. And I want to just lift that up, and we're going to be talking about this Hit a Wall series for a couple of episodes. So stay tuned as we share them with you all. But something that I've been meditating and praying about this whole concept of hitting the wall. And one of the things that I want to share with you today, and I have some other things I want to share along this series, but what I want to share with you today is that if you have hit a wall, if this coronavirus, COVID, safer at home, quarantine, et cetera, season has caused you to hit a wall emotionally, psychologically, spiritually even, we're just at a standstill, even though you're getting up every day, but something about what's happening to you, through you, around you has caused you to hit a wall. I actually want to tell you that you're not in a bad place. That hitting the wall is not necessarily a bad thing. It really becomes an opportunity if we understand what to do with hitting the wall. Because when we hit a wall, it just means that our humanity has come to a place where something has to give, something has to change, something has to be renewed, something has to be refreshed, something has to happen. And it's not a bad thing to get to that place. Because every now and then in life, we need to get to that place. Every now and again in life, even though hitting the wall can be very uncomfortable, very discouraging, very, just challenging, straight up. But it's not a bad thing. Because when I hit the wall, the only place to go from there is to bounce back. Yeah, have you ever seen a car or something hit a wall? Anything that hits a wall always bounces backward. There's a bounce that happens, a bounce back that happens. And I'm not encouraging anyone to ram into a wall today. That's not what I'm encouraging. But what I do want to lift up is I want to encourage you today, if you've hit the wall, if you hit a wall in this process, in these last, 40, 45 days for some, then you're in a good place. And you're in a good place because the only way to go from there is to bounce back. And that sometimes, and I'll say it again, sometimes hitting the wall is necessary because it causes us to think, causes us to reflect, to ask some questions, to pay attention and say, what needs to change? If you're an exhausted parent who has given time and time and time again to your children, maybe hitting the wall might mean for you it's time for self-care. If you're someone in leadership and you've hit a wall in your leadership and you're just exhausted with trying to run the company, and now you got to run the company, the ministry, the church, the program virtually, and you've hit a wall, this might be a good time to engage the services of a good therapist, not because you're crazy, but because you too, Mr. or Mrs. Leader, you need someone to release your challenges of life on to. You need someone to talk to as well. If you're a creative person and right now your creativity is being limited because there are no shows, there are no performances, there are no stages open, and somehow you've got to create the stage through the internet, through this virtual world, and you're not necessarily used to that, or maybe it's not just as engaging as it was, and you've hit a wall in your creativity, maybe this is an opportunity, this hitting the wall, to take a step back and to take a break, take a time out, and allow your creativity to be refreshed. Maybe this is time to take a walk or to breathe or to do yoga or meditation. And so hitting the wall is not necessarily a bad thing because it puts us in a place where we have to pay attention, look around and say, what needs to change? And if that's you today, or if it's someone you know, that's the question. What needs to change? What has to happen? What needs to be different? What needs to be adjusted? What needs to be turned around? What needs to be restored? What needs to be fixed? What needs to be released? What needs to be forgiven? What needs to change? Because maybe, just maybe, you've been going so hard on your journey, so hard on your track that you didn't even see, you didn't even pay attention to the sign or the signs that told you up ahead is a dead end. Up ahead is a wall. You can't go through this way. Up ahead, you got to turn around. Maybe, just maybe, you were going so fast, so hard, so focused on where you were trying to get to, you didn't realize you made a wrong turn down a street that had a wall. And because you were going so fast or so focused, you didn't realize the wall was closer and closer and closer than you expected. And it wasn't until you, boom, hit the wall emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, maybe even physically, that you realized, I missed something. I missed the sign. I missed the warning. I missed the transition. I missed the turn. But as I said before, and I'll say it again, hitting the wall is not a bad thing, because the only place to go from here is to bounce backwards. And I want to encourage you today, and for those that will listen to the replay of our podcast, if that is you, there's two things I want to encourage you to do. Number one, ask the question, what needs to change? Maybe you need to change something in your diet. I was talking to a good friend recently, and they were just exhausted. They had been working really hard to try to work on a program, a project, and they were just exhausted. And I asked the question, are you taking any herbal supplements? Are you doing anything for your body? Because here's the deal. If I keep pouring and pouring and pouring out of my body physically, guess what? My body needs those nutrients and vitamins to be restored. And she was like, no, I hadn't thought about that. And I said, go get you some herbal supplements. Start taking some herbal supplements. Get your body healthy. And she did that in a matter of a few days. She was actually feeling better. Not because of what I said, but because she had taken what she needed. She had given her body what she needed. She had hit a wall with exhaustion and simply needed to restore her body with some supplements, because you and I can only give out so much. You and I can only do so much. There's only so much in us. There's only now God's capacity is limitless, but our capacity has limits and restrictions. And so sometimes we hit the wall because we've expended so much of ourselves. And I do believe that part of what we can take from this season, this COVID season, this quarantine, stay safer at home, stay at home season, is an opportunity to ask the question, what needs to change? I've hit the wall. What needs to change? And now is a great time. Now is a great time. And I'll say it again. Now is a great time to make that change, to make that shift, to do what you need to do so you can bounce back. And not just bounce back crushed or bounce back damaged or destroyed, but bounce back strong. And so again, if you have hit the wall in any area of your life, I don't want you to go into a false bounce back. I don't want you to pursue a bounce back just to pursue a bounce back. I want you to pause and ask the question, what needs to change? And I will always use myself as an example. So for me, what needed to change, I had to get my space cleared out. I had to throw some things away. So I've been using this time to clear out space because I had hit a wall in my writing, and it's hard to write when there's kind of a little bit of clutter around. It's hard to write when things are not, set aside. And so the first thing I did was I created space, and I situated my desk so that I'm facing the window and can take in fresh air, and opened up the space a little bit and got rid of some things. And still doing the process. I'm not done because I'd hit a wall and I just couldn't get past the wall. And I said, what needed to change? What needs to change? And I began to clear space. And so, again, I want to encourage you to ask the question, what needs to change? You've hit the wall, and that's okay. Sometimes that hitting the wall is just the thing we need to make us ask the right question. To make us ask the right question, what needs to change? And don't beat yourself up that you missed the sign. Don't beat yourself up that you missed the sign or the posting that said you're headed for a dead end, you're headed for a wall at the end of the block, wall at the end of the alley, wall at the end of the street. Don't beat yourself up. We all do it. We all have done it. And we might all do it again. Hopefully not, but we might, because our humanity sometimes repeats bad habits. But if that's you, I want to first say to you, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad place. It really is a great opportunity to bounce back. And to bounce back well, one of the things we have to do is ask the question, what needs to change? So I thank you for being tuned in to our new May 2020 series on our Speak Pink podcast. Hey, we're back. Tune in as we continue in this wonderful series on hitting the wall and how to bounce back well. Thank you for being tuned in. I'm your girl, Reverend Juju, and this is Speak Pink. Hey, hey, hey.